City of Robstown is changing up how they do things, and that means going without a city manager from now on. The mayor of Robstown, Gilbert Gomez, says the previous administration chose to have a city manager, and when the choice to keep that position was on the November ballot, voters said no to a city manager. Now all of those responsibilities are shifted over to the city secretary. Gomez says the interim city secretary for 90 days is Gabby Garcia. So how does that affect voters? Gomez says it's not radically different. He just asks that they have continued confidence in the city.
We ask for their patience and their support in doing the things that we need to do to move our town forward in a positive way.
Gomez says the city has also appointed a new police chief and an engineering firm to work on various projects around town.